I have to say this, though. I know we're being recorded. I don't care. I have to say this, though. I am more excited about what I'm preaching tonight than what I'm preaching this morning. Not today. I'm just saying. I'm so excited about what I'm preaching tonight that I almost half wanted to preach it this morning. But I'm not going to, because I need to preach this. And I'm just saying, I'm just so excited about what I'm preaching tonight. So we can't live stream it, but it will be posted up shortly after I get done preaching it tonight on Podbean. They're very good about that. They're really good. They're really fast. And I've also set them up to where they'll automatically send a link to my Facebook pages. And they claim, I haven't seen them done it yet, they claim they'll post it up on YouTube too. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they claim. I gave them permissions to do everything. And so we will see this week if it happens. And well, that'll save me a lot of time if they'll take care of getting it up to those certain things. So, but I have to say, I am extremely excited about preaching the message tonight. But this morning, okay, it's just as important. I just happen to be very excited about what I'm going to preach tonight. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse number 1. For all this I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. All things come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean, and to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth, and to him that sacrificeth not. As is the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth, as he that feareth an oath. There is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. For to him that is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also, their love and their hatred and their envy is now perished. Neither have they any more a portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. We'll stop reading right there, but we will pick up on the other ones, of course. So here's Solomon once again, and this is why some people find this book a little morbid in some ways, because he does have this repeated fascination with the reality that, guess what? Everybody's dying. And that's exactly what he's trying to say. He is saying that whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're good, whether you're a sinner, he's really don't make a difference at the end of the day, because death comes to all. Okay? Who? Yes. Sure. Yeah, she died. And she died. And so, I mean, yes, she gave birth to the Lord, but she was still a human being. Okay? Normal young lady who God just simply visited and gave her a great blessing in that she gave birth to the Lord. But she went on. She had other children. Jesus acknowledged them. One of them wrote a book of the New Testament. And at the end of the day, she passed away sometime. We don't know when exactly, but she passed away. Oh, I know they do. I'm very familiar with the idea that Mary was also immaculately conceived and born and ascended up to become part of the Trinity. And she's now the Queen of Heaven. And so, oh yeah, I know you're looking at it strange, but that's exactly what they believe. So, yeah, it ain't Christian. I mean, I know it bears the title, but if you start digging into it, really digging into it, in fact, one of them said something interesting. You distracted me. One of them said something to me. One day they were saying, we're the oldest religion on earth. They said, I'm like, well, that can't be because Christ is the founder. No, no, no. We go way back before then. I said, now I believe that, but I didn't think you did. I fully believe you're pagan. Idols, it's just the redressed Babylonian religion. It's an interesting thing if you study Babylon's religion and all the things that they taught, their deities and events, and then look at it, what's going on in Catholicism, Western Catholicism especially. Yep, it's the same thing, just redressed. So very, but that don't bother them. So, well, because there's also a teaching in there that when Jesus said, upon this rock I'll build my church, there is a teaching there. It's not even Peter he's talking about, it's paganism. Because they say he was standing outside of a place in which there was a giant pagan altar, and that it was built into a rock. And he was telling his disciples, upon this rock I will build my church. In other words, I'll build my church on paganism. Oh yeah, I've seen that taught by professors in seminaries and schools. I've seen it taught by pastors in churches. There's whole documentaries on it. And so it's also a very popular teaching, which has nothing to do with what we read this morning. But never, hey, either you take it down a rabbit hole or I do, one or the other. We chasing rabbits. We ain't nothing but a bunch of hound dogs in here this morning. We chase rabbits every Sunday morning. But the fun thing is, it's just this reality he goes back and he visits. Now, he's building up in this particular chapter for the last two sections, but I think even if you look over, because we kind of just glanced over it last week, verse 8 of chapter 8, there is no man that hath power over the spirit to retain the spirit, neither hath he power of the day of death, and there is no discharge in that war, neither shall wickedness deliver those that are given to it. And so it's a repeated thing. Solomon is simply saying this: you've got no control over this part. Okay? Everybody is going to meet it, and you have no control over it. I think we really do need to truly understand. I think it will comfort us in one sense, it does me at least, that I'm not in control of my day of death. God is. I will die at the exact moment God wants me to, not a moment before, not a moment after. Okay? So if I ever get, because I'm middle-aged and I'm pushing it, and I get all these, it's like this one meme that came up, I say it's a cough. My mom says it's a cough. My doctor says it's a cough. Google says, death! So I'm living in a day that I get all these feeds all the time. They're always trying to tell me this is going wrong with me and this will fix me because I'm just at this age. I've never looked it up, don't care about it. And all of a sudden I get all these feeds, right? And sometimes they'll start describing things and I'll say to myself, oh gosh, yeah, I feel that. And then sometimes I get to thinking, sometimes I get a little sick or feel a little down, and I'm like, oh, this may be the big one, Elizabeth. I'm going down. And then I have to stop and remember, if it is, there's nothing I can do to stop it. Because if God chooses that this is my day of death, then this is my day of death. Okay? I can't change it. But then again, if it's not my day of death, then it's probably not a heart attack. It's probably indigestion. You know what I'm saying? Or even if it is a heart attack, it ain't going to kill me because it's not my day of death. Okay? And I find that comforting. I find it comforting that my God is completely in control of the day I'm going to die. You say, well, what if someone comes in the door with a gun? God is completely in control of the day I die. It doesn't matter how I die. It's just that dead's dead anyway. It doesn't really matter how you die. Although I have to say this, and I forgot to bring it up today because I meant to contact them and find out how they were doing. But I have another coworker whose husband is they really think he's dying because everything's shutting down. And they called me. They do that. I mean, Mary jokes sometimes about that's one, or but they call me when these things happen. I get calls. I get calls. And so they called me to let me know what was going on. Because here's what I do. I always tell this. I said, all right, I'll have my church pray. And then they'll thank you. Yes. And so it's like they know the next step is to have you guys pray. And so, and again, I just kind of got distracted this morning, forgot to mention it. But the thing that really gets me is like he's dying, and one thing's shutting down after another, and it's this long, prolonged, slow shutdown, you know. And it really reminds me of my Oliver. You know, I was hoping that when Oliver got old, he'd lay down in his bed, close his eyes, and just not wake up, and it'd be all over with, you know, and I'd just have to pick him up and deal with him. But it wasn't that way. It was a long, slow, drawn out, messy, painful, you know, stressful event till finally he drew his last breath. Okay. And unfortunately, this is what's happening with her husband. It's a long, slow, drawn out, anxious, stressful event, humiliating, you know, event for him. And so be in prayer for them. Her name is Deb. So if you just remember Deb and her husband, and remember to pray for them and what's going on. So, but ultimately, death comes to everyone. I was talking to a couple of them, and we were talking about it. I said, I got to just shoot straight with you. I wish we could all just lay down, close our eyes, and just not wake up. And that's how we died. And there was none of this long, drawn out, humiliating, you know. But sometimes it just is. Well, all I know is I want to lay down, close my eyes, and just not, as the Bible says at one time, wake up dead. And I just lay down, close my eyes, and I'm dead. No long, drawn-out, stressful event. But regardless of how we die, okay, we're all going to die. Isn't this cheerful this morning? And but it's the reality. You know, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and I said, you know, the most surefire business we could ever go into is a funeral business. Because everybody's going to have to visit you eventually. Okay? One way or the other, even if you're going to the crematory side of things, you know, see, everybody's going to have to. The undertaker doesn't have to really advertise for business that much. You know why? Because everybody is going to, you don't think nothing about them, and then somebody dies, and the undertaker, well, whatever they call them, end of life, funeral homes, undertakers, morticians, whatever they are. But everybody is ultimately going to, that's the surefire thing of everybody. And so he lists all these different kinds of people and just help us realize that really no matter does it, because they're all going to die. The good, the sinner, the guy's well put together, the guy that can't tie his shoelaces. It really makes no difference at the end of the day. Everybody is going to die. And their love, their hatred, their envy, what does he say there in verse 8? It's all perished. It's all gone. Everything that they focused on, everything that they were known for, whatever, it'll perish with them because they're dead. And that pretty much will take care of it, you know. Now let's pick up in verse 7, okay, because it does get more cheerful as the day goes on. Verse 7. Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart. For God now accepteth thy works. Let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of the life of thy vanity, which he hath given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity. For that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. So what does he say do? We're all going to die. Okay? So here's what you do. Okay? Go your way. Eat your bread with joy. Drink your wine with gladness. Let your garments always be white. Those like party garments. Let your head lack no ointment. And live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest. Whatever your hand finds to do under heaven, do it with all your might. You know why? Because once you're dead, you ain't going to be able to enjoy or do any of it. Now again, he's not prescribing a riotous lifestyle here. Okay? But what he is saying is, you know, God's given you talents. God's given you treasure. God's given you in this case, a wife. And he says, so enjoy, take the gifts God has given you under the sun and enjoy them. Okay? Take the talent. That's whatever your hand finds to do. You find your talent, the thing you're good at, that you have a knack for. And do it with all your might. Enjoy it, and just put your effort. Just because ultimately, you ain't going to be doing it when you're dead. Okay? So enjoy it. And I think this is also not only his constant reminder that life's short, okay, that you will come to death eventually, but this also thing that take the things that God has given you and do them. Enjoy them. Okay? Don't sit around. Death is a reality. Okay? But don't stand around constantly focused on the fact you're going to die. That's going to happen regardless. You don't have to work on dying. Death will meet you. At the right place, the right time, death will show up. Okay? And the Arabs have a proverb. Not that I necessarily... But there's a guy who was in a hotel, I guess you want to call it. Some kind of inn, I guess that's the word. And this guy comes in, strolls up to him, introduces himself, and he goes, "Oh, who are you?" He goes, "I'm Death." And the guy says, "You're Death?" "Yes, I'm Death, and you and I have a meeting." So the guy panics, runs out of the inn, gets on a horse, and takes off, riding off into the desert. And he rides thinking, I ran from death. He comes up upon a well and stops and gets off the horse to get a drink. Another rider rides up beside him. And guess who it is? It's Death. He goes, "Oh, good. This is where I was actually planning on meeting you." You can't. So, you don't have to focus on the fact, I'm going to die. Oh, no, this may kill me. No. Just stop. Because you're going to die. Okay? So now let's focus on the reality of it. You're not dead yet. Susan jokes all the time. She goes, "Oh, I'm going to die." And I go, "Probably, yes, you will eventually, but probably not today." And I joke because the reason I say it is, so yes, one day we're all going to die. Yeah, we're all going to wind down. Die. I still hope I just close my eyes and I'm just, But I didn't get it with Ollie. But maybe so why not focus on what you have right now and enjoy it? That's it. Enjoy them. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing sinful in having fun. Now, some fun things are fun for some people, aren't fun for me. I'm not gonna lie. The roller coaster ain't my thing. And if I don't care for fireworks, I tend to get a headache from all the smoke, the fumes. I don't know what it is. It's just like I don't know. Probably not it. Maybe it's something else. I just associate it with the fact that I'm breathing in all that gun smoke or whatever you want to call it, and it gives me a headache. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the noise or whatever. I don't know. But I always end up getting a headache when I go to a fireworks display.
Don't wash that shirt and rewear it the next day.
Why?
The smoky shirt.
Oh, the smoky shirt. but I just don't. There's just certain things I enjoy. I like museums. I love walking through museums, and I love learning museums. I like libraries. I'm just exciting, right? I'm a pulsating person, right? And I enjoy those things, and I enjoy them a lot. And in fact, the last museum I went to, and it's probably I enjoyed it the most, was here in Albuquerque. What's the local one called? There's a local Albuquerque museum. Yeah. Maybe in the art one. And we went in there, and they had a Jim Henson display with the Muppets. Remember that? It was almost right before it was shut. We got shut down, couldn't go anywhere and do anything. So we went in there, and we drove by, and they had the sign, and it's a tour. It was a touring display, and so it was there. I'm like, oh boy! And so in we go, and so we walked in there, and it was off in its own little room, and you had to walk. It was huge. It was massive. It was beautiful, wonderful. And so I walked in there, and they start with his early puppets, and his early career, even how he got into puppetry. And because at first he thought puppetry was a dumb thing, and why get into it because it's just dumb. Then he went to Europe and saw Punch and Judy shows, which have been going on for time immemorial, and realized that puppets had a niche, and they were. And so anyway, so he went all the way back to some of the big production movies that he did, with the puppets and stuff like that. And of course, you saw Kermit the Frog slowly evolve from a green sock puppet with no name to Kermit the Frog, and who was originally done by his wife, not him. And even though his voice is what Kermit the Frog's voice. I mean, it was. I enjoyed things like that. I enjoyed going to Fredericksburg, Texas, where they have the Pacific Theater World War II Museum. It's huge. It takes you 3 days to get through that thing, and then they have reenactments, and then it's also a very German town, so you get to go to Bavarian inns and eat Wiener Schnitzel the way it's supposed to be prepared, and it was fun. That's me. That's what I enjoy. I remember one time a guy called me up and says, "Hey, Brother Lovelady, we're headed to London, and we got a couple of days in London as a layover. What do you recommend that we see?" And we tour. And I knew this guy. We had a working relationship. And I said, "Well, I think you're just going to have to realize that what I would find entertaining and what you would find entertaining are not the same thing." And he went, "Yeah, that's true." He said, "So whatever I recommend, you probably wouldn't enjoy it because it's not your thing, but it's my thing. And I would enjoy it." But that's the point. There's nothing wrong with that. Have fun. Enjoy it. Enjoy travel if you have an opportunity. See God's creation. Enjoy it. Enjoy your wife. Enjoy your family. God says there's nothing wrong with it. I gave them to you. You can enjoy them, and you can worship God through the gratitude that you express from the gifts that He has given you. He says, you're going to die. So take the gifts I've given you today and enjoy them. Utilize them. I don't even think it's wrong if you like certain kind of cars. I do. Lexma. I actually have a kind of a thing for Mustangs. I mean, they originally were the ladies' muscle car when they first came out, but I don't really care for these electric ones that almost look like SUVs, crossovers. That classic body style Mustang, And I almost had one right as I was coming out of high school. I had the opportunity to get one, but honestly, I was heading off to seminary, and I doubt I could afford to have kept and maintained it, so I passed it up. But it was a nice little blue one with a white cloth top on the back, really nice little blue one, 2-door. And but I was like, I'm not going to be able to. I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bill, let alone this. keep and maintain a car. And so I have this thing where I do kind of like them, but it's just, I mean, I'm not a muscle car guy, but I just kind of like again, I'm a nerd. I would be like a Volkswagen Beetle. And there's a car in town. I love it. It comes over to our Albertsons sometimes. It's a little French thing, little tiny French thing, like a 2-seater. It's a little tiny thing. Yeah. It's just little. It's little, man. It might as well be a motorcycle with a roof. It's so tiny. But what they've done is they've attached to the back of it a big wind-up key. It's so cute when it shows up. You get this big wind-up key in the back. And that's fine. If you enjoy that, there ain't nothing wrong with it. Just glorify God with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, you can lust after them, and you can make idols out of them, and you can do a lot of things with them. I walked up one day, this guy, and he had a brand new Mustang, not even hit the showroom floors yet. He pre-ordered that thing, and he got it in. It sparkled from every it was amazingly gorgeous. The sad thing is I was going up to visit him, and I got so distracted by that car. It was black. I mean, you could see yourself like a mirror. It was black. And this gorgeous gray and black and red highlight interior inside. And like you say, how'd you know? Because what do you think I was looking at? And I mean, I was into this car. And then I realized right there, I could really sin against God with these things because they are so attractive to me. Okay? They really are attractive to me. And when I realize I can be so pulled away, because I was there for the Lord's work, and I spent my whole entire fixated on that car. And I realized right then and there, I may like them, but they're dangerous for me. I'm not saying everybody. There's a beautiful white one out there. I parked right beside it. It's gone now. But there's a beautiful white Mustang sitting there. That's what happens to me when I see that little horse. I'm just like, whoa, there's something about them. And I realized right there, you better never buy a Mustang, boy, because you ever buy a Mustang, this thing will drive you straight away from God, because I'm so fascinated by it. I can't explain it. Just so fascinated. But it's sort of like chocolate gooey butter cake. You heard my chocolate gooey butter cake story, right? Something like that. But I was in Walmart back in Texas, and they were selling this gooey butter cake, little bars like this, right? Yeah. Really, really good, right? Well, I walked in one day, and they had a chocolate version of it. Chocolate gooey butter cake. And I thought, and I was there. Susan was back home. I was just grabbing some things. So I thought, you know what? They sold it like a half sheet. Looked like what, a half. So I bought one, chocolate gooey butter cake. I got out to the car. I'm sitting in the parking lot, right? And I thought, I wonder what this tastes like, just wondering. So I popped open the little plastic container. I reached in there and got me a little pinch, put it in my mouth. I'm like, oh man, this is good. This is really, really good. I'm just sitting in the parking lot. And here's my mind. Here's my memory even to this day. I reached back to the container to grab a second bite. There was no cake left. It was gone. It was like gone. I remember one bite, and then the whole thing's gone. I have no memory of eating that chocolate gooey butter cake. None to this day. And that's probably 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And I've never remembered eating that. But my thought was simply this: what must it have looked like for people walking by me in the parking? No, it was like total Twilight Zone. But all I can say, they must have come by that car and seen this. Eyes rolled back in my head, foam coming out of my mouth. Because when I came to, I thought I was having my second piece, and there was nothing left. Now, it's a funny story, but that's scary.
Yeah.
No, I think I sucked those up too. And there was no evidence except an empty container that there had ever been a chocolate gooey butter cake in my possession. I've never bought another one. You say, but it's just a chocolate gooey. No, that's lack of control. That I ate so fast and furious this thing. Obviously, it's good. But if you really want to throw me off, you buy me a brand new Mustang and put a slice of chocolate butter gooey cake in there, and I don't know, poor Jesus will be crying because I'll be gone. So I've never bought another one. Anything wrong with chocolate gooey butter cakes? Trust me, no. And is it bad for me? Yeah, it is bad for me. And so, no Mustangs, no chocolate gooey butter cakes, because it just ain't. There is a line enjoy it. God's not saying put it in front of me and enjoy it more than you do me. He simply, because he creaks. I gave this to you so you could enjoy it. But that's the focus. I gave it to you so you can enjoy it. So you enjoy it in the context of glorifying Him. I was not glorifying God eating that chocolate gooey butter cake. I was not glorifying God lusting after that brand new Mustang sitting in that man's driveway. Because I was there for God, but I did not have a meeting about God. I fixated on that stupid Mustang. And my conversation with the owner of it was all about that Mustang. Because I was so just drawn into that thing. And so you won't find me going out and buying Mustangs. It's nothing wrong with them. It's just bad for me. Okay, so we have to keep the balance there. Let's pick up in verse number 11. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time. when it falleth suddenly upon them. I want to emphasize the word evil here is not how we typically use it in our culture today to represent like the demonic or something. Evil just simply means harmful. Okay? So you have an evil net for the fishes. Why? Because you're catching them to eat them, and birds caught in the snare, and then there's evil times or harmful times that come upon men. This wisdom have I seen, this is verse 13, this wisdom have I seen also under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. Then he goes into this little story here. There was a little city, and few men within it. And there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man. And he, by his wisdom, delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. The words of wise men are heard in quiet, more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. And so he comes down to this. So we're all going to die. God has given us gifts to enjoy, to glorify him with. And now he comes down to this. He says, I've learned the race is not to the swift, the battle to the strong, bread to the wise, riches to men of understanding, favor to men of skill. He goes, what I've discovered is, sometimes you see these people try to create formulas. If you just follow this formula, then boom, you can be rich in 30 days or whatever. They come up with these formulas. But you ever notice, if you really look at it all, it doesn't work for everybody. There's no guaranteed path to riches. There's no guaranteed path to health. Okay? There's no guaranteed path to understanding as far as a scientific process goes. Okay? And some of my most enjoyable days in my advanced science classes is watching experiments fail, and the professor is trying to come up with an explanation of why their certainty before the experiment is now not certain afterwards. And they try to find all these reasons why it did happen the way they say it was going to happen. And they led us to believe it was going to happen. But the truth is simply this. Solomon's observation is, that's the reality. The race is not always to the swift. Okay? We were joking about it the other day at work because I'm slow. I move very slow. I don't work extremely fast. Okay? Whereas the young ones, that's what I'm calling them now, my young ones. The young ones are very, very quick. Okay? They're very fast. They're getting things done blink of an eye. It's so fast. I can't even believe how fast they complete a project. And but at the end of the day, guess what? I get my work done. I'm slow, but I get my work done. And that's what they all said. Yeah, but you always get your work done. Yes, but I'm just slow. I'll be okay. I'm just not going to get there as quickly as you are. And but I'll get there. So don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'll get there. So because the race is not always to the swift. Remember the old, is it an Aesop's fable? The tortoise and the hare, and that's, obviously the hare was swift, but the tortoise won. Because at the end of the day, it's not always, now, one might say 99.9% of the time the swift will win the race. But there's always that one possibility they're not going to, so you can't turn around and say. And that's what he's trying to point out here, is that what under the sun man says this should lead to X result. Okay? Our good old algebraic formulas, X plus Y equals Z. So X plus Y is always going to equal Z, And what Solomon's saying, not always. Not always does that happen. X plus Y doesn't always come up with Z. Not always going to happen that way. And that is, of course, the reality of it. But then he goes on this beautiful little story of this little poor man who lived in this little bitty city in which there were very few men in the city. Now he brings that up because men were expected to defend the city. So this city had no defense, basically. It was small, had very few men living in it. And this king decides he wants it for some reason. Why would a king want to take a little city with very few men in it? I would not know. But so much so, and it must have been something to this king because he built bulwarks against it. In other words, he didn't just surround it and say surrender. He built ramparts and ways to actually tackle the city, even though there's just a few men in there. Okay? So he invested military resources and mindset to take this tiny little city with very few men in it. And there's this little poor man in there. And we're not told what his solution to the problem was, because it really isn't important. Okay? The important thing Solomon's bringing up here is that he figured out how to defeat the king. Even though their city was surrounded, there were military ramparts all around it, this king was not leaving until he had taken this city. He didn't have an army. Somehow, however, he figured out how to defeat the king. Now, you would think a guy like that would have a statue erected of him or a plaque somewhere acknowledging his ingenious method of rescuing his city from this king. But Solomon's point is simply this, because he just wants us to understand the fickleness of life and the fickleness of people's appreciation and understanding, is that nobody even talks about the guy. He's one little poor man saved the whole city from a mighty king. And yet, who is he? Now, obviously, there had to be a story because Solomon told it. But his point was just simply this. Nobody knows who he is. No ticker tape parades, no national day, no celebration of his birthday. Mentioned in the history books, person of his name and how he did it. Because that's just life. So, we're all going to die. Death comes to all. Enjoy the gifts that God has given you while you're in this life. And don't worry about the fact if nobody knows your name on the earth. Because I'm going to tell you something. The Bible tells us that holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. Do you know who did remember who that man was? And who did know what that man did? God himself did. And when God was inspiring Solomon to pen the words of Ecclesiastes, he brought it up. Because again, this is all about under heaven, on the earth, under the sun is, I believe, the expression that's commonly used. And even if down here, nobody knows your name, okay? Understand that the people who everybody know their names to, they're going to die just like you. Being famous isn't going to stop them from dying. Sometimes they think it is, but it ain't going to stop them from dying. And I don't know why anybody's shocked. We lost. They were just human and they died. You ever seen those? All the people we lost in 2025. And they'll go, it's all actors, politicians and musicians. Well, we lost a lot more than that. But nobody's talking about the other guys. But you can't, all it says is, so this famous guy that people practically worshipped, or this woman who people practically worship, she died just like the people that don't even get their names put. Do you know you have to pay to put your name in the obituary, sir? I thought the paper just did it as a community service. That's how naive I was. Otherwise, they ain't going to publish your name and nobody's going to know you died. But there is one who knows your day came. And even though nobody may celebrate your talents, nobody may celebrate your wisdom, there is one who knows the gifts they gave you. And there is one who appreciates what you did when you used those gifts for his glory. He has not forgotten you. He knows who you are. And this is sort of the encapsulation of this particular lesson today, is when you put your hand to your work and you enjoy the things that God has given to you. This is why there's even the New Testament says, do all that you do for the glory of. Because in the end, he's the only one who's going to remember you. Guaranteed, he will remember you. And he will remember the things that you did in his name. He will remember the talents you used for his glory. He will remember the treasures you used for his glory. He will remember the sacrifices you made in his honor, in his glory. He will remember those things. No one else may remember them. He also knows exactly the impact of that little deed you did that you didn't think was much. That in comparison to so-and-so over there, what's the difference? Oh, under the sun, probably none. No one will probably remember who you are. We were watching this program the other day, and it's one of those panel shows. It's actually one of the original panel shows that was on TV. And you have to guess, people's jobs, and then ultimately they have this special guest section where they blindfold the panel and they bring in a celebrity. And you don't guess their jobs, you have to guess who the celebrity is. So they bring him in, they sit him down. And these people come in and we look at each other and go, who's that? And every uproar, woo, 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 whistles and stuff. And we're like, who is this person? I have never heard this person. Now, sometimes the people, I don't know who they are. But then they bring in people, I have no idea who this person is. What did they ever do? And I told Susan the other day, I said, well, in their day and time, they were a very popular actor or actress. But they've fallen out of favor with Hollywood. Nobody talks about them anymore. And so we don't understand why they're cheering and whistling for this person, because they fell out, whatever. They got out of the industry, or the industry didn't want them anymore. Happens all the time. And I said, imagine all the people we think today that are going to be eternal in their fame. And you give it 20, 30 years, and people will be going, who is that? I never heard of that person. I know that because the youngins don't know half the people I know growing up. And I say, and they're like, huh? I mean, they were rages all over the world. They were, woo, Now they don't know who in the world they've never heard of them. They just vanish away. But things you do for Christ, okay? Those things, it's not that man remembers you did them. It's that Christ remembers you did them. It's not that we're trying to be immortalized by man. It's that God remembers the deeds that we did. Just like he remembered that little man in his little town who cleverly figured out how to save the town from the king. God doesn't even bother to tell us what he did. You know why? He's just making a point. God knows what he did. God knows how he saved that little town. God knows. So if you think that your life is insignificant, that you've never really had an impact, and it's very easy to do, because, in the Christian world, certain people are lifted up, made big deals out of, and I read it all the time, this very popular pastor, and then they'll list all the people that listen to him, stuff like that. And sometimes it can get you, because you think to yourself, well, I guess I'm not very popular. But at the end of the day, the only person you have to be popular with is the Lord. Under the sun, they have a different way of determining success and quality and failure, but heaven has its own method. And I'm afraid that there's a lot of people out there that think that they're making an impression, but they're going to be like those movie stars from 20, 30 years ago, and 20 years after they're dead, ain't nobody going to remember what they did, and even Christ isn't going to be impressed. Because they didn't use their talents to glorify him, they used their talents to glorify themselves, to try to make a name for themselves. I hear it all the time. You need to leave a legacy. You need to somehow to perpetuate your name. Well, I thought we were in this for Jesus, but my naivety. And at the end of the day, though, it's just like that little old man. We're all going to die. Enjoy the talents and things that God has given you. Realize that God may not destine you for your name to be immortalized here under the sun. Doesn't matter anyway, because most of the people that at the time everybody thinks they're immortalized go away. Nobody hears about him anyway. I'd much rather God look down and say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of thy Lord. All right, let's pray. Father, thank you so much again for allowing us to gather this morning, and help us to take the lesson from the little old man in his little bitty town who used his wisdom to save his city and remains nameless under the sun. We know you know who he is because you wrote him down in your word. And help us, Father, to labor for your honor, for your glory, that your name be lifted up and your name be immortalized and your name be perpetuated, not ours. Let's ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's